Okay, good evening, everybody in the room and on Zoom and on the recordings. We finished off last week at the end of Birchat Hatorah, but we still had a little bit to do around Birchat Hatorah because we spoke about saying the bracha before you learn, and we explained that the bits that you say immediately after are in fact the learning. Let me just shut that door because you turn that off.
Yes, I'm turning it off.
Yeah, but you're disturbed.
Yeah, no.
Right. So we said that immediately after Birchat Hatorah, we say those three things. We say the bracha of the Yevarechecha Hashem v'yishmerecha, and then we say Elu Dvarim. These are the things. That's a Mishnah, and we ended off with the Talmud Torah Keneged Kulam. If you remember, at the end of last week, we spoke about Talmud Torah Keneged Kulam, meaning that the learning of Torah is equal to all of them. And then we had that little discussion about whether that means is equal to all of them put together, or it's equal to all of those mitzvot. And we don't need to go into that any further. That's where we ended last time. Now, somebody asked me, and I can't remember who it was, what happens if you forget or don't say Birchat Hatorah? Because you meant to say a bracha before you do a mitzvah. So before you light your Shabbos candles, you say a bracha. Before we shake the lulav, we say a bracha. So before we learn Torah, we have to say a bracha. Now, what do you do in the situation where you forget to say Birchat Hatorah and you're already in the middle of davening? What do you do? You've already said, let's say, Baruch She'amah. You've already said Baruch She'amah, so you're in the middle of Psukei de Zimra, where you don't normally interrupt. What are you going to do about Birchat Hatorah? Any suggestions? Think laterally and think what we said you do if you miss or forget V'tein talumata livracha. There was a solution somewhere along the line. Very good, Jeff. Excellent, excellent, excellent. Jeff said, for those that didn't hear him, for the Zoomers and the recorders, Jeff said you say it before Shema. Well, you don't actually say it before Shema, but in the paragraph before Shema, the bracha before Shema, which in Nusach Ashkenaz is Ahava Rabbah, and in Nusach Sfard is Ahavat Olam. Let's just have a look at what it says. I'm going to use the Nusach Ashkenaz, and I'm going to use the Art Scroll translation. And here it is. So we say, have a look. If you want to find it in your Siddur, it's the bracha immediately before Shema. And it says, Ahava Rabbah Avtanu Hashem Elokeinu, you've loved us with great love, Chemla Gdola, all these wonderful things. Vatalamdein Chukei Chayim, and you have taught us the decrees of life. Kein Techonenu Talamdeinu, so you shall continue, as it were, to be gracious to us and to teach us. Avinu ha'ava rachaman hamrachem rachem aleinu, our Father who's the merciful one. Listen now. V'tein bilibeinu, and place in our hearts, lehavin, to understand, ulehaskil, from the word seichel, to have wisdom about, lishmoa, to listen to, lilmod, to learn, ulelamed, and to teach, lishmor, to keep, v'la'asot, and to do, ulekayem, and to fulfill, et kol divrei Talmud Toratecha be'ahava. All the words of the learning of your Torah with love. So that little bit there that we've just said is in fact a type of Birchat Hatorah, because it's a bracha of Ahava Rabbah, because it ends up Ohev Amo Yisrael. Oh no, it doesn't. Ends up Habocher B'Amo Yisrael Be'ahava. Ohev Amo Yisrael is at Marif. But within the bracha, we are recognizing that we have to learn and teach and do and all those things. So Jeff is absolutely right. If you forget Birchat Hatorah, then you can fulfill that obligation of saying the bracha in that bracha of Ahava Rabbah. There is only one problem with that. What's the problem with that?
Not saying the three different kinds of bracha.
You're not learning straight after. What happens? What happens? Faye is right. Faye says you're not doing the three bits, the Yavarechacha and the Elu Dvarim. You don't have to do those three bits. You have to do some learning. We do those three bits because they happen to be Torah, Mishnah, and Gemara. But so you have to do some learning. You're quite right, Faye. And so go on. What's the answer? Okay. So one opinion is that Shema is in fact, of course, Shema Yisrael is part of the Torah. So if you say your Shema properly and you concentrate on your Shema, you have in fact learned. So there is one opinion that says that's fine. As soon as you've said Shema, you're done. You're fulfilled. You've learned Torah. There's no necessity, obligation to learn Mishnah and Gemara as well. As long as you've learned something, you've said a bracha, I'm going to learn, and then you learn. However, there's another opinion that says, really, Shema Yisrael there, you're not really learning it. You're just saying the Shema because it's a statement of affirmation, if you like. So there is another opinion that says that after you finish davening, so you've done Aleinu, said the last Kaddish, you should then get out of Chumash, get out of Gemara, get out of Mishnah, something, or even go back and say Elu Dvarim, say Yivarechecha and Elu Dvarim. So there is an opinion that says that if you're relying on the bracha of Ahava Rabbah or Ahavat Olam, then you should go and do some learning after davening. It's not a bad idea anyway, which is, by the way, that is one of the reasons why in many shuls, and I wouldn't be surprised if it happens in Stanmore, that at the end of davening, somebody, usually the Rav, will learn something, maybe a Mishnah or a Halacha, something. They will learn something, and then they will do a Kaddish de Rabbanan. So one of the reasons they do that is so that there's another Kaddish for the mourners to say. There's another Kaddish de Rabbanan.
I think that there are more Kaddishim, short Kaddishim, than in Nusach Ashkenaz than there is in Nusach.
There is. You're quite right. There are.
Because I saw it in England.
There are. We'll come to it as we go through davening. But the other reason that they do that is not just for the mourners to say Kaddish. It's in case there were people who didn't say Birchat Hatorah and were relying on Ahava Rabbah, then they've done their learning. And you can say, okay, I've done. Yes, Frank.
Why would they learning, whereas saying Shema is not? And likewise, could you then find out if you think children
I don't think it does. If you've heard Birchat Konim, you're hearing Birchat Konim as a bracha. You're not learning it. And the idea of saying Yivarechecha there, specifically there, it's not part of davening. It's there to be part. Its task is to be learned. Yeah. Whereas Shema, its task is not for learning. As I say, there are some who say, yeah, it counts, but it's not its primary reason for being there. Whereas Yivarechecha and Elu Dvarim, it is the primary reason for being there. Okay. So that
Johnny, excuse me, we say the Akedah after the Brachot, and we say Az Yosher Moshe. It's also from the Torah.
Also from the Torah. Again, the same applies to what I said to Frank. Its primary purpose is not as learning, whereas the primary purpose of Yivarechecha and Elu Dvarim, it's there only for one purpose only, to be learned. Because we said Birchat Hatorah immediately before it, so we learn it. That's the whole reason. If we didn't say, so in other words, what I'm saying to you is, I suppose, if you don't say Birchat Hatorah, I won't say there's no point in saying Yivarechecha, but you shouldn't say Yivarechecha and Elu Dvarim because you haven't said your bracha, because that is there to be learned. you with me? Whereas davening is not learning, it's davening. Okay, so there's a slight difference. Okay, so that's if you forget to say your Birchat Hatorah, you can rely on the Shema, the Brachot of Shema. Okay, so there's all sorts of different halachot, which I'm not going to go into, about sleeping during the day and when you wake up and when you say all these things. We'll talk about those people that stay up all night, like on Shavuot. We'll talk about that when we come to the Birchat HaShachar, what we call Brachot, Asher Natan Asech Vivina, etc., which we will maybe get to tonight. Depends how long I faff around with Tzitzit, okay? Because that's what we're going to do next. We're going to do Tzitzit and Tefillin. Why am I going to do that next? Because that is the order in which it is in the Sidurim, except for Tehillat Hashem, which is Nusach Ari, which the Chabadnikim use. We are not using a Chabad Sidur for no other reason than we are not Chabadnikim. We are using either the Nusach Sfard Rinat Yisrael, the blue one or the brown one, or we're using Nusach Ashkenaz, for which I am currently got in front of me an art scroll.
I find that Rinat Yisrael.
Okay, so let me just say that out loud. Jeff says in the green Siddur, that's the Sachs. Oh, by the way, I wanted to say before we started, yesterday was Rav Sachs's second Yortzeit, and so therefore we should recognize that and dedicate this shiur to the memory of the greatest Jew of the 20th century, in my humble opinion. So in the Rabbi Sachs green Siddur, Tzitzit and Tefillin is before Birchat HaTorah.
I actually don't like, and I use it because I use it every Shabbat. I don't like Siddur Rinat Yisrael.
I'm sorry that you don't. They speak very highly of you. Yes, Philip. For Frank. Okay, very good question. Now, Frank says, what do I mean when I say tzitzit? Do I mean tzitzit or do I mean tallit? I mean both. Okay, so let's first of all deal with tallit. We'll come to tzitzit. I know it's back to front, but we'll come to tzitzit afterwards. Talk about tallit first. Because there is, of course, a machloket as to who is obligated in a tallit gadol. Okay, tallit gadol is what we call a tallit, and tallit katan, the small tallit, is what we call tzitzit. Okay, the four-cornered garment. Now, what is the mitzvah of tzitzit? What is it? I mean, where does it come from? Where do we read of the mitzvah of tzitzit?
From the third part of the Shema.
The third paragraph of the Shema. Yes, Frank, you were going to say something else? Okay, that's okay. That's another aspect we'll come to. You've got to see them. Okay, so reminders of all the mitzvahs. That's why what it says. It comes, as Philip said, from the third paragraph of Shema. So if you want to just turn to the Shema, it's probably the easiest way to find it, rather than to look. Where's it from, Philip? Do you know where about in the Torah it's from? The third paragraph of Shema.
Bamidbar.
It is in, yes, it's in Sefer Bamidbar, correct. So, Vayomer Adonai Moshe Lemor, Daber el Bnei Yisrael, speak to the children of Israel, Ve'amarta alehem, and say to them, Va'asu lahem tzitzit. They shall make for themselves tzitzit. Doesn't tell you what that is right now. Al kanfei bigdeihem. Ladorotam. On the corners, kanaf. What is a kanaf?
A wing.
A wing. Yeah, you want to go into the supermarket and you want to buy your packet of wings, you buy knafayim. It's a plural of kanaf. Kanfei is the what's that? What's the expression? It's the belongs to. There's an expression for that in English. It belongs to kanfei, the wings of, or the corners of. Possessive. That's it. Possessive. It's the possessive form. Al kanfei bigdehem, on the wings or the corners of their garments, ledoratam, forever, ledoratam, for the generations. From dor is a generation. V'natnu al tzitzit hakanaf patil techelet, and you shall place on the tzitzit on each corner a patil. What's a patil? A thread. Okay.
Thread.
A what?
A thong.
A thong.
Yeah. A big thread.
Philip says it's a thong. I'm not going there.
It's a big thread. You're thinking about something else. No. You have a band.
A patil is a thread, or it also means where else do you see the word patil? Chanukah.
It's a wick.
Ilim.
A wick.
A wick. Why is it called a wick? Called a patil because it's a thread, isn't it? Trying to just let Nachum in here. Yeah. So, okay, you put there on it a patil techelet, a thread of, what is techelet? Other than the inspiring Judaism, techelet is?
The blue thread.
Blue, a type of blue wool, okay? A type of blue color.
From a caterpillar.
It comes from a snail.
A snail, yeah.
Okay, so v'haya lachem letzitzit, and it shall be for them as tzitzit. Next words. Or item oto, and you shall see it. What does it mean? You shall see it.
The garment.
You shall see it. What's the it? The tzitzit are plural. So why do you have to see it?
The garment with the tzitzit on.
It could be the garment.
The patil
Yeah, I think it's the blue. It could be the garment. I think it means the tchelet, because I think the tchelet actually is the ikar is the main part of the tzitzit, is the tchelet. And we're going to talk about tchelet a little bit later on. Okay? Now, so in the same sentence, it says, you shall see it, uzechartem et kol mitzvot Adonai, and you shall remember all the mitzvot of Hashem. So somebody around here said, I don't know who it was, said that it's there to, it was you, Jeff, I think, yeah, said that it's there to remind you of all the mitzvahs. Correct. Uzachartim et kol mitzvot Adonai. Faye just said that it's surrounded by 613. It's all, to be honest, a little bit of a dray, that 613 business.
To do it as
no. The word, what's the gematria of tzitzit?
What's what?
The gematria, the numerical value. Tzaddik 90, Yud 10, 100. Tzaddik 90, 190. Yud 10, 200. Taf 400. You've got 600. 600. 8 threads. 608. 5 knots. 613. Very clever, huh? No, Frank, you didn't see that, everybody. Frank just went, eh. I tend to agree with Frank, eh. But it's quite cute. It's a bit contrived, but there you are. There's your 613. So your tzitzit represent all 613 mitzvot. It's better than the thong theory. That is true. Okay. So it's there to remind you of all the mitzvot. V'asitem otam, and you shall do them, meaning the mitzvot. V'lo taturu acharei lavavchem v'acharei einechem. And you shall not stray, lo taturu, you shall not stray acharei lavavchem, after your heart's desires, v'acharei einechem, and you should not stray after your eyes, asher atem zonim achareihem, after which you zonim. What's the word zonah mean?
Stray.
Yeah,
Stray.
zonah is lust, which you lust after. Now, in va'asitem et kol mitzvotai, and you shall do all my mitzvot, ve'item kadoshim le'elohechem, you shall be holy to God. Now, in what way does tzitzit specifically protect you from these lusting mitzvot after your heart and after your eyes? Because that's what it's telling you. It's telling you, if you wear these mitzvot, you will remember all the mitzvot, and you'll do them, and you will not stray, or it will assist you in not straying after your heart and after your eyes to lust. Okay, it's a constant reminder. Now, we'll come to that in a moment about how constant it is, right? It's a constant reminder. Now, when I'm not going to go into details, Philip. Okay, so you have to use your imagination here.
I'm using it the whole time.
Okay, when one is lusting after one's eyes and one after one's heart, and if the one is a man after one's other part of one's body, okay, one's lusting in that direction. It involves taking your clothes off, right? Usually, and then you see your tzitzit. And that pulls you up. Exactly, Adrian. That stops you. And you put your clothes back on and you walk away. Exactly. So, yes, there is a famous one. It's correct. So.
Don't make a bracha on your tzitzit, though.
You do make a bracha on your tzitzits. You do
when
make
you've taken them off because of lust, and then you put them on again.
No, I didn't say you put on. I didn't say that you made a bracha after you put them back on again.
That's what I said.
You don't take them off. You get to the point where you're going to take them off and you don't take them. Okay. Let's not go into any more detail. This is a family shiur. Actually, you know, when I put the recording onto YouTube, there's a question that's asked, and it is it made for kids? You have to tick a box if it's made for kids. This is definitely not made for kids. Okay, so tzitzit are there to prevent you from straying. Okay, now, who? Yes, Frank. No. It's a good question. It's not a mitzvah to make tzitzit. It's not even a mitzvah to wear tzitzit. How can I say such a thing? What is the mitzvah of tzitzit?
To see the fringes.
No, not to see the fringes. Only if you have a four-cornered garment. So if you do not wear a four-cornered garment, which most of us today, in today's method of dress, most of our clothes do not conform to a four-cornered garment, okay? It's not like that. Those shirt things that we've got big slits up the front, up the sides that the Muslims wear. I don't know what they're called. Is it called the jalib? I don't know.
Jalabia.
Jalabia. Okay, that might constitute a four-cornered garment. Now, in the old days when we used to wear stuff like that had a four-cornered garment, there were four corners. We would put tzitzit on those. But generally speaking, modern dress does not include a four-cornered garment. So actually, a normal set of clothing for a man does not need to have tzitzit. There is no requirement, al pi halacha, there's no obligation to wear tzitzit unless you wear a four-cornered garment. So why do we do it? Why have we got these things on?
Already wear four-cornered garment?
Yeah, look, these things here. Okay, I'm not going to embarrass you or myself by taking off my shirt. So I brought some spare ones, and here they are.
Wouldn't like to see that.
There we go. There it is, a four-cornered garment. So we wear these. I'm just going to put this on top of me. Okay, so that's how it looks. Four corners, 1, 2, and 2 at the back. That's a four-cornered garment, which many Orthodox Jewish men wear either under their shirts, over their shirts, under their waistcoats if you're Hasidish, however you wear them. Now, we don't have to wear...
Johnny. See the word at the beginning, Ledorotam, when it said Ledorotam, I always thought that meant the clothes of your generation.
No, it means you should wear it forever. It means it's not just a mitzvah for here and now. And that is the source.
Yes.
That is of the source of the tallit katan.
Yeah.
Because there is no... Okay, so Johnny said, what does the word ledorotam mean? Does it mean, he said it means in the clothing of your generation. But what it means is ledorotam, for the generations. In other words, forever. So what that is saying, to me anyway, is that even in a generation where we don't wear four-cornered garments, it is a mitzvah to wear tzitzit, but only if you wear a four-cornered garment, which is why Orthodox Jewish men go out of their way to wear a four-cornered garment. Now, once you've got a four-cornered garment, you have to put tzitzit on it, okay? So if I go out without my tzitzit on, have I done an Aveira? No. For example, I don't wear tzitzit usually when I come to shul in the morning. Why?
Because you're going to wear a tallit.
No, that's not why. Because I'm going for a run. Exactly, Jeff. I'm going for a run. I'm going to get all sweaty and I'm not going to wear tzitzit. It's a bizayon for the tzitzit. It's not nice. It's a disgrace for the tzitzit. So I don't wear them in the morning. Some people, yes, some people do. Some people wear them over not over their clothes, but over an undershirt. Yes, for that reason. So I don't wear them in the morning if I'm going to go for a run. When I come back from a run and have a shower, then I put them on again. I put them on. So there's no mitzvah for men to wear a four-cornered garment. But if you're going to wear a four-cornered garment, then you have to wear tzitzit. So why do we do it? Because we want to do the mitzvah. So we put ourselves in a position that we have to do this mitzvah by wearing a four-cornered garment. Okay? So it's only a mitzvah if you're wearing a four-cornered garment. Now, let's go to Orit Itemoto, and you shall see it. It's only a mitzvah if you can see it. That means during the day. Okay? There's no mitzvah to wear tzitzit at night. So actually, if you wear a four-cornered garment at night, theoretically, nobody does this. If you were to wear a four-cornered garment, which was a night shirt, it was, in other words, it was a night garment. There's a machloket if you wear a daytime garment at night, whether that's considered a nighttime garment. But let's say your pajamas were a four-cornered garment. For some reason, you had a jalabia. You had a jalabia style pajamas, which required tzitzit because it's got four corners. If it's a nighttime garment and it is pajamas, you do not have to put tzitzit on it. Okay, and if you do put tzitzit on it, you shouldn't say a bracha on it because there's no mitzvah to wear tzitzit at night. So again, when I have a shower or change myself to go out in the evening, when it's already dark, I don't put tzitzit on.
Because you can't see them.
Can't see them. Well, no, there's no mitzvah to do it. There's no halach. There's no mitzvah to do it. There's no mitzvah. Some people do it on the basis that I want to have this garment that's close to me that's holy. But there's no mitzvah to wear tzitzit tonight, and certainly you don't say a bracha. So if you are somebody who works during the night and sleeps during the day, and you wake up and you don't get dressed until after nightfall, then there's no point putting tzitzit on. Doesn't matter. Halacha is nighttime. You don't see at nighttime.
What's about during the day then, Johnny? Excuse me.
What about
during the day when people don't wear the tzitzit outside the trousers?
Okay, so I'm coming to that now. Before I just come to that, Nechama or Nachum has their hand up.
Yeah, I wanted to ask you, there's no definition of techelet in this statement we just read. So when was it decided what techelet is?
Okay, we'll come to techelet shortly, Nachum. I'm going to go into techelet in some detail shortly. Let's just put techelet on one side. We'll come to it in a minute. We'll just finish.
In 100 years ago, in 100 years ago, did you wear tzitzis that had this
no.
blue?
No, but 1,000 years ago, no, not even 1,000 years ago. 2,000 years ago they did. 1,500 years ago they did. But then they lost the recipe. But we'll come to it in a minute.
Okay. All right.
We'll come to it in a minute. Okay. So or itimta, and you shall see it. Now, as you know, there are some people that wear their tzitzit outside of their trousers, sticking out, and there are some people who wear them tucked in. Okay. Now, what's the halacha? Frank will tell me, or itamoto, you have to see it. And so if it's all tucked in, then you can't see it. Yes, Warren, you'll have to unmute.
Well, the mitzvah is they mustn't touch your part of your body, certain parts of your body.
That's another important point. It's an item of kedusha. It's a holy item. You're fulfilling a mitzvah with this thing, so you can't have it touching the parts of your body that are normally covered. Another reason, by the way, why some people wear it over a vest. When I was a kid, I was never allowed to wear my tzitzit next to my skin. I had to wear a vest. That was how I was taught. I don't do it here. It's too hot to wear a vest and a tzitzit and a shirt. But there is definitely an opinion that says you should not wear your tzitzit directly against your skin for that reason that Warren has just said. Now, so it's become a little bit of a, what's the word?
Fashion statement.
A fashion statement will do nicely to start. It's become a bit of a fashion statement, or a religious statement is probably more accurate. That if
like
you want to look from, then you wear your tzitzit hanging out. That is how it has become. Now, the Sephardim do not wear their tzitzit out at all. Rav Ovadia Yosef only wore his tzitzit out very rarely and very at the end of his life. Sephardim do not wear their tzitzit out. Ashkenazim, there are two different minhagim, and there is an opinion that says that to wear your tzitzit out is a little bit arrogant, and therefore one shouldn't do it. Correct. When you go into, Jeff has mentioned the halacha about tzitzit when you go into a cemetery. When you go into a cemetery, you have to tuck your tzitzit in. Why? Right, because you know it's like making fun of the dead people. Look, I can wear. I can do tzitzit. I can do a mitzvah, and you can't. So it's being sensitive. It's being sensitive to those around you.
What about pikuach nefesh? You might be provoking somebody by wearing your tzitzit outside.
You might, and that would definitely be not a good thing to do. So there's very good reason why people don't wear their tzitzit hanging out. Many people wear their tzitzit hanging out because that's the way they've always done it in their families, and that's absolutely fine. However, if one is doing it to look from, then that is not an appropriate thing. Now, okay, so that's tzitzit.
But that presumes that when you put them on in the morning and say a Brachot, that's going to stick in your mind all day. You don't need to actually see them in order to stay on the straight and narrow.
Correct. And when you say the bracha, you should be looking at the tzitzit, and we'll come to that when we talk about tallit in a minute. Now, Faye said to me earlier on, I'm not really interested in tallit and tefillin because I'm a woman and I don't wear them. And I said, why not? Now, can women wear tzitzit? What's the halacha?
Yes.
They don't.
Yes.
Okay, Jeff says it's not a time-bound mitzvah. Exactly. So Maurice says it is a time-bound mitzvah because you can only wear them to do the mitzvah. You can only do the mitzvah, we've already said it, by day. So everybody is agreed that it is a time-bound mitzvah. And therefore, women are not obligated to wear tzitzit because it's a time-bound mitzvah. Now, that wasn't the question that I asked. The question that I asked was, can women wear tzitzit if they want to?
Yes.
No.
Okay. Johnny says yes. Warren says?
No, because women shouldn't dress like men.
Because what?
Women shouldn't dress like men.
Okay, excellent. We've got two opinions here. Johnny says yes, they can because
I'm a pupil of Ravido.
Because he's a pupil of Ravida. I'm not sure that's the right. That's actually the full answer. But okay. And Warren says no because women are not allowed to wear men's clothing. Now, okay, let's just stop there because there's a lot in there. Okay, Jeff asked the question, does it specify men? No, it doesn't. But it doesn't specify men in kashrut either. So you're going to tell me that women are not obligated because of it doesn't mention them? No, the fact that it doesn't mention women doesn't get you out of it. It's the time-bound mitzvah. Women are not obligated in tzitzit because it's a time-bound mitzvah. Now, however, the question is, are women allowed to wear tzitzit as opposed to being obligated? Now, there's a Gemara in Brachot 43a that says even though women are exempt, if they want, they may rely upon the opinion, the famous Tosfot in Kiddushin 31a, which says that any time-bound mitzvah that women are not obligated to do, they are allowed to do without a bracha. So, for example, lulav and etrog. Are women obligated to shake a lulav and an etrog?
Yeah.
Who said no?
I said yes.
Nechama said yes, they're obligated. Philip said no. What does everybody else say in the room? Hands up if you think women are obligated in shaking a lulav and etrog. Nobody. Hands up if you think they're not obligated. Nearly everybody. Abstaining, okay, those that don't know, fair enough. The answer is they are not obligated because it is a time-bound mitzvah. When's the time for lulav and etrog? The first day of Sukkot only. So it is a time-bound mitzvah. However, this famous Tosfot in Kiddushin 31a says that they may shake the lulav if they want to, but they don't make a bracha. There is a halacha, there is an opinion, I should say, Ashkenazim particularly hold by this, that they can say a bracha. Not that they have to say a bracha, but they can say a bracha on time-bound mitzvot that they are not obligated for. So, on the basis of this Tosfot, it would appear that women can wear tzitzit if they want to. And there is a machloket as to whether they would say a bracha on it or not. However, we have to take into account Warren's point, which is that tzitzit, generally speaking, are considered to be a man's garment. Now, I'll ask you two questions on that. It's chicken and egg. It's only a man's garment if women don't wear them.
You're frozen, Johnny.
Put your hand up, Warren.
Be back now, now.
Why do children wear tzitzis?
Johnny's
He's
gone.
gone.
I'll ring him. Hang on, I'll ring him.
Yes, again.
I don't see him.
Oh, he's off. He's not on the air anymore.
No, he's frozen. He's gone off.
Yeah, why do you think children wear tzitzis? If are they obligated to wear tzitzis too? Do you know? He's back.
Sorry, everybody, we lost you for a minute there.
I was just going to ring you.
we lost contact, but we've got you back again. So I can direct you to a website if any of you want to buy one of these things. What if there was a specific woman's garment which was four-cornered? And I said I can direct you to a specific website. I read earlier on this evening, I put into Google just to see what would come up. I put in women and tzitzit, and up came this website where this woman decided that she wanted to wear tzitzit. She was allowed to wear tzitzit, we've said so, but she found that it was uncomfortable for her shape because she's a woman, and the men's garment that was four-cornered didn't fit, it all bunched up, and she didn't like it. Okay? And so she decided that she would design a women's tzitzit, and she has them for sale. So anybody that would like to buy one, I can direct you to the website if you're interested. So this...
why do children wear tzitzit?
Okay, that's a different question. We'll come to that in a minute. It's all about chinuch. So stick with women for the sec. So if you have a woman's garment, which is definitely a woman's garment, it's got all the shapes of a woman and all that stuff, and it's designed for a woman, by a woman, and all that stuff, then we've no longer got the objection that it is beged-ish, a man's garment. So that would get rid of your objection, Warren. It's not a man's garment. That one's not a man's garment. Now, what is the halacha? Well, how do we pass? Now, we pass in, I think, a really sensible way, because in the same way as some men wear their tzitzit out as a religious statement, a statement of their piety and a statement of their holiness, there are women who would want to wear tzitzit for that reason. There are some women, I accept, who would want to wear tzitzit because they want to do the mitzvah. They want to have an opportunity to do the mitzvah. They feel close to God when they do this mitzvah. Fine. So how we paskin is that women are allowed to wear tzitzit, even men's tzitzit, but they should not wear them out. They should wear them underneath their clothes so that nobody knows they're wearing them. And that shows that to the woman herself that she's doing the mitzvah for the right reason. If the whole reason you're doing it is to say, hey, look at me, I'm a woman wearing tzitzit, and you wear them underneath your blouse or your dress, then it's not going to work, is it? You're not going to show anybody. Somebody has to know that you're wearing tzitzit. And if nobody knows you're wearing tzitzit, then you know that you're doing it for the right reason, okay? And I think that's a really clever psak. Now, the same thing goes for a tallit, okay? Tallit gadol. Can women wear a tallit gadol? Everything that we've just said applies, okay? It's a four-cornered garment. All a tallit gadol is a big four-cornered garment as opposed to a smaller four-cornered garment. Women can, if they want, wear a tallit gadol. But the halacha, the psak that we have is not in public. Why? For the same reason. So we know you want to daven at home. Maurice, if you want to daven at home with a tallit and that makes you feel closer to God, you want to wrap yourself in the tzitzit, you want to wrap yourself in these 613 mitzvot in the privacy of your own home, there is absolutely no problem with that at all, al pi halacha. To come to shul and do it is problematic, because what's the reason you're doing it? What's the motivation for that? Usually that is to say, hey, look at me, I'm a woman wearing a tallit. Provocation, maybe I wouldn't know, not necessarily go that far, but potentially. So that's the halacha of tallit and tallit katan for women, okay? It's not an obligation. They can if they want. Most women don't, and if you do it in private. And how about a bracha? Well, you can rely on the Tosfot of Kiddushin to say that if you want to say a bracha, you can. Okay, now, that is not taught in any of the Beit Yaakov schools, okay? You won't find that taught in any of the Beit Yaakov seminaries because it's a bit too, feministic. But that is the halacha as it stands. Now, Nechama asked about children. Why do boys wear tzitzit under the age of bar mitzvah? For the same reason that we get boys to daven under the age of bar mitzvah and to do all the other mitzvot that they can do. They're not obligated in mitzvot until they're 13, but from the age, what we call the age of chinuch, and there's a dispute as to what the age of education is, whether it's 3, whether it's 7, whether it's 9, whether it's when they understand. Our minhag in our family has always been from once the child is clean and dry, is no longer in nappies, and understands that this is something special. Then we made a tzitzit party for the boys. We gave him a nice new pair of tzitzit, usually with a mitzvah train picture on it, and we'd have a little party, and his friends would all come, and it would all be very nice, and he would then wear tzitzit. Not obligated.
But there are religious families that put the tzitzit on the child at the age of 3 when they give them their first haircut. They give him the first tzitzit.
That's right. That's part of the same idea. They believe that age 3 is the time when they are able to understand that this is a mitzvah. Generally speaking, in my family, we've done it before 3 because they're usually clean and dry. We do it when they're clean and dry. And we make a big fuss of the mitzvah and what have you. But yes, you're right. A lot of Hasidim, when they do the upsharen or the harakah, they cut their child's hair. They do that. That's another time when the mitzvah is done. Others don't do it until they're 7, until they can understand. Difference in opinion. The idea is that you are mechanech. You teach the child about the mitzvah. It's no good if you don't teach a child anything until he's 13, and suddenly on the day's bar mitzvah, he has to start doing 613 mitzvahs. What the hell are you talking about? I don't know any of these things. So you have to educate them beforehand. Yes, Jeff? Okay, so the timing of the bracha, that's where we're up to really now in terms of saying the bracha. Now, if you are going to wear a tallit gadol, in other words, you are, okay, let's stop there for a second. Who is obligated to wear a tallit gadol? Not obligated. Nobody's obligated to wear a tallit gadol. You only have to wear a tallit gadol. You only have to wear tzitzit on a tallit gadol if you wear a tallit gadol.
Married man.
Ashkenazim, Western Ashkenazim only wear a tallit gadol after they're married. There's no logic to that at all, by the way. But that is the minhag of Western Ashkenazim. Eastern Ashkenazim, what do I mean Eastern Ashkenazim? That means Polish, Lithuanian, Hasidim particularly. They wear a tallit after bar mitzvah. Sfardim wear it after bar mitzvah. Sfardim also wear it under the chuppah. German Jews, and that includes Minhag Anglia, because Minhag Anglia is based on the Minhag of Frankfurt, wear a tallit under the chuppah. The more Lithuanian Jews, rather than the Hasidim, do not wear a tallit under the chuppah. They wear a kittel. Yeah. Okay, they wear a kittel and a raincoat usually because it's raining. So if you're going to wear, if you are going to wear a tallit gadol, meaning when you get up in the morning and you put your tallit katan on underneath your shirt, should you say a bracha? The bracha for the tallit katan is Asher kiddushanu b'mitzvotav v'tzivanu, who has sanctified with his mitzvahs and commanded us al mitzvat tzitzit, or about the mitzvah of tzitzit, to do the mitzvah of tzitzit. If you're going to wear a tallit gadol, you don't make the bracha. You put the tzitzit on, and you have in mind that you're going to wear the tallit gadol, because the tallit gadol has a different bracha. What's the bracha for tallit gadol? To wrap yourself in tzitzit, because you can't wrap yourself properly with a tallit katan. It's a different mitzvah. The idea of wrapping is to wrap yourself with the 613 mitzvot, like we said before. Now, if you are somebody who does not wear a tallit gadol, so let's say you're Ashkenaz and you're not married, or you're under a marriageable age, and you don't wear a tallit gadol for davening, then when you put your tzitzit in on the morning, you say al mitzvat tzitzit. And then when you get to shul, you skip the bracha on a tallit gadol because you're not going to put one on, and you go straight onto tefillin. Okay, that's what unmarried Ashkenazim do. Sfardim wear a tallit from tallit gadol from bar mitzvah. So if you're not going to wear a tallit gadol, the timing of the bracha is when you put them on in the morning. But if you know you're going to wear a tallit gadol, meaning either you're going to go to shul and daven, or you're going to daven at home with your tallit, you don't say the mitzvah. Good question. Jeff's question was, let's say you get up in the morning, you put on your tzitzit, you think you're going to wear a tallit gadol for davening, happened to me once. Yeah, I went away to a hotel wherever I was. Took my tallit and tefillin, and I got there, and there was no tallit. There was only tefillin. I'd forgotten it for some reason. I'd forgotten it. I'd already put my tzitzit on. Now, you're meant to do the bracha before you do the mitzvah. We've said this before, haven't you? Before you shake the luluk, you say the bracha. Before you light the candles, you say the bracha. Before. Now, I've already got my tzitzit on. I put them on half an hour ago, thinking I'm going to use my tallit gadol. What do? The whole time, no, you don't take them off. The whole time you've got them on, you can still say the bracha because you're doing that mitzvah all the time. Okay, so the whole time you've got that on, you are fulfilling the mitzvah, which is why people wear tzitzit. You're not obligated to wear tzitzit, but the whole time I've got them on, I'm doing a mitzvah. I'm chalking up another mitzvah, right? So that's good. So the whole time you've got them on, you can say the bracha. You're meant to do it beforehand. So if you're going to wear a tallit gadol, you don't make that bracha, because then if you make that bracha, there's a question as to whether you can make a bracha on the tallit gadol. It's a different bracha, you're going to tell me. It's a different bracha. Why can't I make it? Well, there's a machloket whether you can or you can't. So to be sure, you don't say the bracha on this, but you have in mind that you're going to do the tallit gadol. Okay. So, yes, Frank.
Is eligible.
Okay. Okay, let me tell everybody on the screen what Jeff, what I've called you Jeff, I've called you Philip. Frank said, okay, Frank said the reason that unmarried Ashkenaz men don't wear a tallit is so that the women, the girls, can see who's available and who's not when they're looking down from the ladies' gallery. I am not convinced that that is the reason. It may well be a consequence of that fact. I am not convinced that that is the reason why unmarried men don't wear a tallit.
This is the country of what Chazonim, when Chazonim are davening and they're looking up, and you think they're looking up at God. They're looking up at the ladies' gallery. It's the same thing.
Okay.
They're two separate and would actually last you for the whole day because you were in 10. You're saying that you'll be wearing those tzitzit during the whole day. Where's the bracha of the tallit gadol? It's purely for as long as you're actually. Which is why the first part. Let me say what Frank just said. Frank said the bracha of al mitzvah tzitzit is all day long because you can see it. You got your tzitzit, you know they're there. But the hitatef, the wrapping yourself in the tallit, is only when you're wearing the tallit gadol. So therefore, it's two separate things. It's purely because you said your al mitzvah tzitzit first, that there is a safek whether you would say a bracha because it's there all day. I've fulfilled that mitzvah already. And therefore, it's a safek whether you should say al lehitatef. It's a bracha. Safek bracha lekula. If you've got a doubt whether you should say a bracha because it's derabanan, you don't say it, and therefore you would not be able to say lehitatef if you'd said that bracha on al mitzvah tzitzit. You wouldn't be able to say lehitatef. Now, what happens if you say lehitatef and then you take your tallit off and then you put on your tallit katan? Then you could say a bracha al mitzvah tzitzit for the reason that you've just said, because you don't have it on at the time. Whereas when you do your lihitatef, you've got it on. So if you've already said a bracha on it, you can't say a bracha on your tallit gadol. Got it? Okay, fine.
Why doesn't it say al mitzvah, Johnny? Why doesn't it say al mitzvah lihitatef tzitzit?
Okay, so it's interesting you should ask that question because I had an interesting discussion with Ravi Doe this last Shabbat 2 days ago about the nusach of a bracha when a moel does a brit on his own son. Ravi Doe said that he had read somewhere that the normal bracha, when you say do a Brit, is the Moel says, Birchat Hashem al hamila. Al hamila, who has commanded us about Brit Milah. And Ravido said that is the nusach when you do something al yidei shaliach, when you do it through somebody else doing it for you. So the father's mitzvah to do the Brit, but he gives it over to the Moel. So the Moel says al hamila. And he said that he had read that when a Moel does his own son, he doesn't say al hamila. He says asher kiddushanu mitzvotav v'tzivanu lamul, to circumcise, as opposed to about the mitzvah of circumcision. And that's when you do something yourself. I'd never heard of that. And certainly I've done my own children. One of them, I did Hoodie. And I've seen many Moelim mal their own children. I've done all my own grandchildren. And I've never used that expression lamul, and I've never seen it. We looked it up and we were both right. And that is that there is a bracha lamul.
Come again.
Just at the good part, it messed up.
Yeah.
Oh. Well, you want to just, your name is Johnny too. Maybe you could just
I asked the question.
Oh, you asked the question?
I'm calling it.
Well, you can't answer it if you already asked the question. Otherwise, you wouldn't ask the question. This was getting to be the best part. I messed up.
You go. You know something. You go. Okay, Johnny. Okay. He's trying to reconnect.
You think the class is over and that's what happened?
No, he's trying to reconnect.
Oh, he's trying to reconnect.
Yeah. No.
He's on mute.
I'm on mute. Okay. Lehitatef is you're doing an action, and the conversation that we had with Ravido doesn't actually work because you've got al natilat yadayim, which is not done through a shaliach. So I'm not sure it all actually works out, but that was the discussion we had. So lehitatef is to wrap one's tzitzit in. Now, time is up, but I just want to get through. Give me 2 more minutes because I want to get through how you say the bracha of lehitatef b'tzitzit, because it's important. A lot of people do this wrong, and I want to make sure that people know how to do it right. So I'm just going to stand up and I'm going to get my tallit. Now, the way one puts a tallit on, there's all sorts of different minhagim. So you will see some people do this, like that, just put it over their eyes. And that's one way of doing it. You'll see some people do this, where they put it and they wrap it round like that, okay, like a scarf. There's all sorts of different minhagim, and we'll go perhaps through the minhagim next time. But there is only one way to do the bracha, and maybe not most, but a lot of people do it wrong. Let me just move the camera a bit. A lot of people do it wrong because we have said already several times tonight, when do you make the bracha? Before you do the mitzvah. I have seen many people do this. They wrap themselves up in their tallit and then they say the bracha. And that is incorrect. That is incorrect. The correct way to do it is to hold the tallit ready before you wrap yourself in it. Say the bracha. Blessed are you, Hashem, King, our God, King of the universe, who has sanctified us with his commandments and commanded us to wrap ourselves in the tallit, and then you wrap yourself in the tallit, however you do it. If you do it this way, then you do that. And then there are various psukim that you can or cannot say. It's in the Siddur, some do, some don't. You say that after you've wrapped yourself in the tallit, but you make the bracha before you put the tallit on. Now, many people, I've seen many people do it incorrectly. They say they wrap themselves in the thing first, or if they do it this way, they do this, and then they say the bracha. And that's incorrect, because that is in effect wrapping yourself in it. So if you're gonna wrap yourself in any way, which you must, then you have to say the bracha first. Okay, that's today's takeaway message. To say the bracha before you do the mitzvah.
Very good.
Okay,
Thank
so
you.
Jeff has asked what constitutes a wrap, and that is a long discussion, because you'll know that there are lots of ways of wearing the tallit. Some people wear it over their shoulders. Some people wear it over their head. And some people wear it like a scarf, like a football scarf. They are all correct except for the scarf. Okay, you cannot wear it like a scarf.
That is your neighbor.
It's not. That is not wrapping yourself. Wearing it as a scarf doesn't count. If you wear it over your shoulders with 2 tzitzit at the front and 2 tzitzit at the back, that is the way to wear a tallit. If you want to wear it over your head, that is another way. There are some that say that only married people should do that, and that's the minhag Ashkenaz, or the minhag Anglia based on the minhag Yekim, that only married men wear it over their head. That's not to say that all married men must wear it over their head, but only married men wear it over their head. Secondly, you still have to show the tefillin shel rosh. You don't cover the tefillin shel rosh. And there are some people that say only holy people should wear it over their head, and therefore to wear it over your head, and Rebbe Vadia never wore it over his head. To wear it over your head is a bit arrogant, because you're telling everybody how from you are. So some people cover their head for the Shema and the Amidah. There's no basis for that, particularly for those prayers, except that those
concentration.
Are the prayers, those are the prayers where you would concentrate and you want to sort of block out everything else, and so you put your tallit over your head. Birchat Kohanim is a different thing altogether. That's because you shouldn't look at the Kohanim, so you cover yourself with whatever you want. It doesn't have to be a tallit. But wearing it over your head for Shema and Shmona Esra is because those 2 tefillot are. I dafka don't. I used to. I don't anymore. Dafka don't, because I think it's making a distinction between various tefillot, and I don't think we should do that. And also, to me, unless everybody else is doing it, I mean, if you're in a place where everybody covers their head with a tallit, then to cover your head with a tallit is not arrogant. It's probably arrogant not to cover it with your head, because you're showing you're different. I don't think it's right personally in a place where everybody does it, because it sort of says, look at me, I'm dead from. So I don't. But I don't object if anybody does. That's fine. If it helps them concentrate, that's fine. Okay, so I think we better stop there, or else we'll go on forever. Any questions in the room first?
No, it's clear as mud.
Clear as mud. Philip says it's clear as mud. Any questions on Zoom?
Thank you for telling me about the bracha, though.
No questions on Zoom. Were you doing it wrong, Johnny?
Yes.
Okay, see, you're not alone. You're not alone.
No, I was.
Any questions on the recording, then you'll have to send me an email or a WhatsApp, because I won't be able to hear you when you record it. Okay, everybody, Laila Tov.
Laila Tov.